Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. This article comes to you guys from investorsbusinessdaily.com. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys could check it out. So this morning, AT&T's John Stankey, the CEO of AT&T, he was at the UBS conference and he had some interesting stuff to say. And one thing that he did say made it into the article, and it's AT&T joins T-Mobile in digital switching as wireless industry faces big changes. So you guys can kind of see T-Mobile leading the way in this, and now the others are in their findings and research are seeing that they need to move in that same direction. And that's what T-Mobile recently presented as an uncarrier move that ready to switch to better in 15 minutes. And it's a digital platform. It's all happening digital on the T-Life app. And that's what AT&T is looking to do as well, likely early next year. And that's what he discussed during the conference. And of course, some other stuff too. So we'll get into that in this video, but I wanted to point out this article right off the bat because I think that's very important. It shows that T-Mobile is onto something. It shows that T-Mobile is right. The digital transformation is here, and T-Mobile is really leading the way in that. From an AI perspective, the open AI partnership, the NVIDIA partnership, it's starting to sound like T-Mobile is leading the way in that regard, and everyone else seems to be following, is what it sounds like. So AT&T very confident in its plan and strategy. John Stankey was asked how it's going for the fourth quarter. He said it's going very well. They're on track to meet guidance, so that's always good to hear. And then of course the big topic was fiber, and we got to talk about that in this video. Fiber is a really big deal for AT&T. I've said this long ago. I've said it in several recent videos. I've said it last year. I said it the year before. Fiber is a really big play for AT&T. Even so big that John Stankey is now addressing fiber sort of as like, this is our main brand. This is our go-to market in many markets. They're leading with fiber promos to get foot traffic in stores and in the queue, and when they're ready into the digital channel. It will be a part of the digital switching channel at some point, because you have to, any opportunity you get to sell fiber or convergence, you got to take advantage, no matter where it's happening. The calling queue, digital, through the app, the store, you have to you got to take the opportunity to sell fiber. So AT&T is definitely doubling down on fiber. The acceleration is here, and any small opportunity they get, they're going to further accelerate. So keep that in mind as we head into 2026. Early 26, they fully expect the Lumen deal to close, which gives AT&T plenty of opportunity to sell more fiber. They're going to get fiber customers that are already existing on the consumer footprint of Lumens, and that footprint they can sell wireless into that. That's already existing. But of course, there's other areas in these markets like Seattle and Denver and some of those markets where there is Lumen fiber, but it hasn't been sold. So that's opportunity for AT&T. And then, of course, there's the convergence opportunity. And then there's the opportunity to further expand fiber inside of that footprint that they will now own once the deal closes. So that is just a great position for AT&T to be in. And they're really doubling down on that, and they really want to be by far the biggest fiber player in the US. They themselves internally don't even want it to be close. That's how big of ambition AT&T has around fiber. And then, of course, just the Lumen piece itself, just think about how much revenue and profits that's going to lead to. Before they do anything else, they're just going to make additional revenues off of the already existing Lumen base. Then they have to bring their brand into it, and then they grow and they fill in the rest of the slots that have not been filled by Lumen. And then they're going to try to get wireless into the existing Lumen footprint where there are customers, and they're going to try and grow into new footprint and to already existing homes that have not yet been touched by any of the the Lumen or whatever AT&T has to offer. So AT&T is they're gonna go big on this. They're gonna be very, very aggressive, still disciplined, but they're gonna be very aggressive. The $37 price point for 1 gig is very aggressive. That is ultra aggressive in my opinion. And that's essentially how they grab share. And I think internally they think this way. They think if we lead with our fiber offer, we can grow our wireless business that way. They truly believe that. They don't think it's the other way around anymore. They truly believe fiber is the go-to to grow the wireless business. And Stenke admitted it today. He said, we don't do well in those markets that we're getting the Lumen fiber. We don't do well on wireless market share. He said it. So that means they have a lot of upside in those markets. A lot of upside. So they have a lot of growth ahead. They have a few fun years of integrating but I'm sure they know how to do that very well, and that's going to be a smooth process. And then they just go attack. They just grow. They look at it from a local perspective. They do some national advertising, of course. They look at it from a regional perspective. Okay, how can we maybe grow our wireless network even quicker using the fiber asset? Okay, how come Lumen has 50% penetration in this market, but only 20% of it is sold? So they're going to look at all that. And they have been probably looking at that and are still looking at that. And they're probably already coming up with strategy and planning around that, right? With the anticipation of the closing of that deal early 2026. And Stenke announced today we will have another analyst day early next year once that deal closes. And they're also expecting the EchoStar deal to close around the same time. So once both of those deals close, they will have another analyst day with more in-depth information. So be on the lookout for that. And I think it's going to be, if we're thinking acceleration on fiber and the higher spend that AT&T is going to do, you got to think inside of that Lumen footprint is where they would naturally accelerate, in my opinion. So if there's more homes to pass within Seattle or Denver or anywhere else, they're going to invest specifically for that. You might as well go for it. If you're going to try and grow your wireless business based on the fiber convergence, you got to get fiber to every house possible to grow your wireless share in a meaningful way. And if the more houses that you pass with fiber to the prem, you're going to be able to grow your wireless business effectively. And in return, that's going to affect T-Mobile and Verizon's share in those markets. And that, of course, means they have to naturally, by default, invest more into wireless in those markets. But all of that will be reviewed and looked at once that deal closes. And Stenke told us today we will have an extensive sit down. So he's going to sit down with shareholders, analysts again, and because everything is changing. They're expecting to grow at a higher clip once that deal closes. And that means everything else accelerates too. You close EchoStar around that same time, that should accelerate your FWA ambitions, your wireless ambitions, because you have more to sell into and you have more capacity to sell and monetize. So all of that will be looked at. Also, he said, well, recently before today, he stated that EBITDA would be at either 3% or better. He disclosed today that it's the better, right? So they're going to definitely be at a 3% plus. That's a big deal. So AT&T's balance sheet is going to be very strong, and it's going to just get stronger once they close the fiber deal with Lumen next year. They close the EchoStar deal, and then they're going to very likely go after other deals for fiber. AT&T is the one that I'm very confident in they go all out. T-Mobile, maybe if the opportunity presents itself and it's attractive and accretive, they might go for another deal or two. But with AT&T, I'm sure if it's a JV player, whatever it might be, they're going to do it. They're going to do it to get to their targets and goals. And a lot of that has to do with fiber. They view fiber CLV accretive. It's just very attractive for them. They don't want any of the FWA base to really be a long-term customer on FWA. They want to move them to fiber. He reiterated that again today. And the only way to do that is you got to go big on fiber. That a lot of areas that don't have your fiber product today, they need to get it in the future. Regardless of the red tape, the funding, they're going to chase it. They're really going to be ambitious around it. And he was really adamant about that today during the conference, the UBS conference. So I fully expect fiber to be the lead product, that any strategy that they discuss for 26, 27, 28 and beyond, it's got to start with fiber. And then they talk about wireless. He said the days of pure play wireless and pure play fiber are over in his eyes. He's looking at converging the whole market if possible. If it's possible, I mean, he wants to converge everywhere. Wherever he has wireless, which he does nationwide, he wants to put fiber, is what it sounds like, right? Can he get that? Can he achieve that? It just depends how confident they are in their ability to execute. He needs to be able to execute. And if he has to go into a market where fiber already exists, then so be it. He can still 9 times out of 10 present a better deal, in my opinion. If he goes into a market, he can give you 20% for wireless and fiber. Other cable players are fighting against that by striking deals with Verizon so they can offer some type of convergence. But I think the overall package is still better if you get AT&T, in my opinion. Which doing it with Spectrum, you have limitations on wireless. There's caps. I've had somebody message me yesterday. They're getting a great deal on Cox. If they added their wireless lines with the home broadband, they would have an awesome deal. But then they saw they're going to get capped after 20 gigs, and that just wasn't that attractive to them anymore. So they're staying with their wireless carrier. But you can see the cable players are really trying with the convergence. So if AT&T comes in, they converge you and you don't get capped and you can choose AT&T's highest plan or whatever the case, then that should be a more attractive offer. So either way it goes, AT&T has to further compete. They understand that very well. Stanky said the competitiveness has not gone away. In fact, it's getting more aggressive, and AT&T's ready. Right, they're ready either way it goes. So we'll see what they do in early 2026. But it's very exciting to see that they're big and ambitious around fiber. The Lumen deal is getting ready to close. So there's an integration period. And then, of course, we will get the sit down with the analysts and investor community as to how much more they think they can grow and give us an updated guidance and see how much more they want to grow the Lumen footprint outside of where it is today, which is going to require an investment. But of course, AT&T is ready with higher investments for the next few years. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.